Hello, and welcome to the next ReeVlog. I'm being lit by computer screens at the minute because you may be able to hear there are children outside, and I will reopen the windows and endure their screeching when I finish this, but I figured whilst audio quality isn't exactly, quality isn't why I do these vlogs, being able to hear what I'm saying might be useful. Otherwise it kind of defeats the purpose. So yeah, hello once again. Welcome to the next ReeVlog. I've got two things I want to talk about, and hopefully I'll remember both. Starting with the first one, I'm going to try and blitz through it so that I remember the second one. Yesterday I did a mock grading for Kung Fu, and it went well. Not passing well, but definitely highlighted the areas I need to improve. Some stuff was brought up that I've never heard before, so great, I need to do that. That's very useful. And there were some elements of how I've been practicing that I need to change, and I need to put a bit more focus on certain things than I had been before. That said, pretty much went roughly how I anticipated. Tea's still too hot to drink. So, yeah, not ideal, but acceptable. And should be grading in a couple months with any luck, which then would put it at roughly 2.5 years since my last grading. So that puts it at 14 to 15, probably around 15 years total to get 2 belts away. So once I've got this next grading done, there'll be 2 more, including black. And then there is a second black, like a prestige thing that I could also do and intend to eventually do, but got to get a wiggle on. So as part of that, I am personal training myself. I've said it before, but I've actually filled out the workout section of the spreadsheet, and because I don't work super well off of computer screens and stuff, I'm going to be making alternate versions to print, laminate, and then there'll be like tick boxes for sets. So after I do a set, I can get a pen, whiteboard pen, that's the type, to tick, done that set, move on to the next exercise or the next set, tick off as appropriate. And then once I've ticked everything off, I've finished, and then I can erase them. And I've scheduled in workouts throughout the next 3 weeks, 2 weeks, until April. So the rest of the month I've scheduled workouts in. And then one of my tasks that I put after a workout in April, because I've got April 1st, is schedule April's workouts. And then I'll also, at the end of that, hopefully remembered, put at the end of the last workout, schedule May's workouts, and so on and so forth. In that includes like Kung Fu practice, but also the conditioning stuff. And the conditioning stuff I think is more important for where I currently am with the Kung Fu, because it is a physically endurance-based finisher. The way that my instructor's been explaining things makes it sound like it is pretty much just an endurance task. Yes, there is obviously a degree of technique, but you need to have the endurance to go back-to-back high-intensity things repeatedly until you're done. My mock, and we didn't cover everything on that mock because time, and there were a couple teaching points thrown in, was 2 hours. So I fully expect the grading to be at least 3. And then black belt is apparently like 8. So the one in between those two is probably going to be like 5-6 hours long. And I need to be able to do that effectively. It's going to be tough, but I'm looking forward to pulling it off. And that in between one, I don't know what else is on it, but it's got a lot of sparring. It's got a lot of escape work, like practical, not drills necessarily, but exercises, which I'm really looking forward to. And then my favourite form of exercise is like sparring. So having the opportunity to do that more regularly as part of my training, it's going to be great. I am hyped. And then I've also got 2 forms, I think, on it. have to learn. That's obviously going to be technique based. But yeah, there's a lot to be done. But I'm very excited to get my next belt, and I need to get back to better physical fitness condition. I've been slowly working on getting back to where I was pre-chronic fatigue, and most of that has been like steady state cardio, high intensity cardio, and low intensity strength training or isometrics. It's working, can say that. Getting out of the super stressful office environment has helped. Having the 4 days off has helped, as opposed to 2 out of every 7. I've got 4 of every 8. And then my current job isn't super helpful because it's still a lot of sitting and stuff, and difficulty to maintain good posture, to not end up with the weakened glutes and hip flexors and tight hip flexors, blah 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 blah. But I'm doing my best to achieve those things, the things that I need, and you might be able to tell the lighting's hard, but I've got Marbo written on my hand, which I believe is horse stance in Chinese, according to the Pioneer video I was listening to earlier, because one of the things I'm struggling with the most, and have my whole time as a martial artsy person, is hip mobility, and that is actually what the training I'm going to be doing when I finish this, and also probably redo this, because this was meant to be a placeholder and it's 3 months in and I've not changed it. That is going to be for hips mostly. It's generally a mobility flexibility, but with mostly a focus on the hips. So I've got like hip flexor stretching, I've got pigeon pose, I've got cobra pose, I've got hip flexor strengthening, I've got frog pose, I've got a thing that I don't actually know what it's called, where you lay down on your stomach and you lift a leg and you move it out to the side and you lower it and back in again, and you're like, you got to put an obstacle in the way to lift it over to make sure you get the height. It's a pain, but I've got that, and that is going to be the most intense, along with the hip flexor stuff, I think. But when I was doing pigeon the other day, I was sweating, I was shaking. It's not good. But in effect, I need to be able to get my foot up to this point of my body, whilst stood up and my other foot on the floor, back straight, etc. And ideally, I need to be able to do that in a controlled manner. And so, I've got a long way to go, because I can currently get it to about the top of my leg, so where my actual hip socket is, the pelvic bone. And I need to get about that much further, a face high. It's a long way to go. There are workarounds for the technique, but I would like to be able to do both and to be able to demonstrate both when I eventually teach as well. Well, there's 3 types of way to do the technique. One of them is a lot harder as a bigger person. But when I get the hip flexibility down, I should be able to do it. It's just going to mean having to be quick. But hip flexibility down, I can then do 2 out of 3 without necessarily having to worry about super speed, and then I can work on the super speed, obviously. So that quick blast didn't go as quickly as I anticipated. However, I do remember the other thing. It's my love life, kind of. Not actually my love life. Dating. I've been single for a long time now. And my last relationship, I don't really count, because we didn't actually go on any dates or anything. We made out a bit, and then I visited her home, and then she broke up with me. And that's it. So I don't really think that counts. which means it's even longer. If that is the case, it's been minimum a decade. But yes, I've been thinking about like non-negotiable things for potential partners, because I'm at a point in my life where I would like whoever it is I end up with next to be my partner for the rest of my life, ideally. That was always the goal, but at this point, it's like, okay, I know things about myself that I need to make sure they accept, and I know things that I want that I need to make sure that they also want. One of those is children. The annoying noises outside. So, whilst I may not know, like, I may not be acclimated to children very much, I want to be a dad. And I understand that's not always biologically possible. Like, might be shooting blanks, as it were. Or the oven may not turn on, so to speak. Perhaps both, perhaps other reasons, etc. But I'm open to adoption. Biological spawn, preference, but whatever. And so that's something that I've been thinking about, which, you know, there's no timeline really for it. But whilst I'm not in a financial or home-based, I don't know, situation where I'd be able to have kids, I progressively am like, I'm at a point in my life where I would like kids because I'm still physically active and able, and then that would be like having that responsibility, but also the privilege of moulding their little child minds would be I don't know, like a second guiding light in my life, because currently I've got Kung Fu and living. I love D&D. It's not so much a guiding light, it's more of like a have your cake and eat it too type situation. Kung Fu is where I'm focusing, and then I've got smaller sub-hobbies like learning to draw, helping my friend with making a video game, that sort of stuff, like learning various other physical stuffs. It's like I would like to learn more martial arts, and yoga, and stuff like Pilates, or Pilates, as it definitely should be called. But yeah, those things are like not priorities, because they don't need to be. Kung Fu has been a priority of mine for years now, and I just need to keep that up there. And because I've put that so high up, everything else has to come further down. Children, you can't put them down on the priority ladder. Like, that's just not okay. So it might reduce the priority for Kung Fu a little bit, but also, if I were to adopt or foster a child, then they would be old enough that potentially I could teach them Kung Fu. We could train together, that'd be really cool. And then, if it's high on their priority list, that makes it even higher on my priority list, because I want to make sure that it's all good and right for them, and that I can answer any questions they have, etc. And if not, if I were to have a biological babu in, say, who knows, 9 months and a bit, because, you know, there ain't any around right now, in development, then, you know, I would be potentially okay with it. There would be issues on the finance side, as I mentioned, but I'll figure out. And yeah, you can't really teach a baby Kung Fu, obviously, but you know, maintaining my own physical well-being is then not just for myself, but for them, the child. Because if I'm not physically well, then I can't look after them. So it reinforces my current goals. But yeah, it's something that I've wanted a long time. I remember like year 7, so early high school. So that's like 11 years old, roughly, I guess. Discussing with a friend, like, future plans. And I was like, yeah, I'd like 3 kids. And that was when I was 11. Not much has changed. Now it's more of a, at least 1 kid. 3 would still be great, I think. But at least the 1 child, and see how that goes. But also, I wouldn't want the age differences to be too bad, so I wouldn't want them to be a teenager and then have 2 more kids, because then they wouldn't necessarily get that whole, like, siblinginess. But also, I wouldn't really know how to deal with a teenager, and then I'd potentially have 3 of them running around at the same time. Be right. I'm not really worried. But yeah, that's just a talking point that I thought I'd bring up. My current mental state is largely bish bash bosh on the fitness train, bish bash bosh baboo. In theory, this is like 2019 part 2, because 2019 is where I went from like 120 kilos to about 90, and like did a lot of running, skipping, basic body weight exercise. I'm effectively trying the same thing. I've got a lot of injuries that need rehabbing now that came from 2019 and the couple years following that. But it's 6 years later. My weight's gone back up to just over 100 kilos. A larger portion of it's going to be muscle, but some of it is definitely fat. So this is more of like a body recomp than a weight control. Increase muscle mass, decrease fat. So, gonna see how I do. I need to make sure I actually put in the effort on the physical training. Technique training I enjoy, physical like conditioning I don't, but I need to get it done. So that's why I've scheduled it in. That's why I've got PTing myself. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna probably speak to some friends and be like, hey, can you hold me accountable? Because that external accountability is something that really helps. That's, to me, the main benefit of having a PT. But when you're PTing yourself, there is no external accountability. It's all just you. And it's much easier to make excuses to yourself than it is to someone else. So yeah, wish me luck. I don't think it's going to be too bad. Like, I'm not aiming to be like shredded 11% body fat or anything like that. But if I can get down to like 15 to 20, I'm probably like 25, maybe a little bit more, just based off of what I remember from way back when I was actively doing this stuff for other people constantly. But also work on my mobility. So need to get that sweet hypertrophy, and then mobility at the same time. And you know, I'm a full fan of functional fitness, so I've got to get my endurance and maximum strength increases as well. Endurance being more important than max strength for me, due to most of the stuff for Kung Fu, I don't need to be able to like bench twice my body weight. I can't right now bench my whole body weight, but that's beside the point. Like, yeah, I'm going to have to do a lot of push-ups, but that's mostly strength endurance. If I have a higher max strength, those first push-ups are going to be easier, so it's going to increase the amount of reps I can do, but not by a lot. So if I need to get that high rep ranges in my training, which I've got in my training plan, I've got workouts for that. Obviously, I've not tried these workouts yet. I made them yesterday. I'm doing the first one today. I'm going to adapt them as I need to. And then when they're good and I do them regularly, add in more progressive overload. Like, I've got a 20 kilogram kettlebell at the moment. That's not in this workout for today, but I do have an 8 kilogram kettlebell and a 4 kilogram kettlebell in today's workout. If the 8 becomes super easy, yeah, sure, I'll use the 20 or try it. And then if on workout 5, because they're all just numbered, I have got the 20 kilogram kettlebell. If that becomes super easy, then I'll have to load up one of my dumbbells to be higher weight than that, if I can, or get a heavier kettlebell. But I fully expect that 20 kilogram kettlebell to be fine for the rest of the year. And I've got 64 kilogram on my barbell. If that becomes easy, which it probably will, for the things like RDLs and DLs, deadlifts, because I know that the first time I ever did a deadlift, I did like 110 kilo or something like that, and it wasn't too bad. So, yeah. 64 kilos shouldn't be too bad. I'm going to have to rep them out, but that's fine. The fun fact for that, this is a workout 3, which is like lower body. I'm starting off with drop sets for the deadlifts. So it'll be using the barbell for the 64 kilos, then moving to the 20 kilo kettlebell after I've tired myself out using the 64 kilos. Gotta get that endurance. Then it is using the 20 kilos. I've got split squats. Then I've got horse stance hold till mechanical failure. So until I just can't. Followed by jump squats. It's going to be really hard. I have another martial arts pose hold, both sides, because that one's one that's left and right, whereas horse is just both together. And then I've got just more squats, gobbler squats, back squats, and front squats with the lighter kettlebell until technical failure to avoid risking too much injury. That's one set. Then repeat twice. Working out, I've got a 5-minute rest in between each set because holy cow, that's gonna murder me. And then it's like I've got to be careful on the second and third set because terrible. But yeah, I'm pretty ready. I wouldn't say I'm excited to do this because it is not going to be pleasant at all, but that's okay. Hopefully I will get to enjoying it eventually. Exercise 1 or workout 1 is cardio, which is hard to fit into my schedule because at the moment anyway, because it's bloody freezing at night. Like I did some training yesterday and you could see my breath on the recording I was doing. I was like, it's not great. But when I do cardio, I heat up very quickly. So if I wear trousers and a jumper, I go to start doing the cardio, and then I'm sweating. Or if I go out in shorts, I've got to do a really intense warm-up before doing it, because otherwise I'm like... Similarly, skipping, can't do it indoors here. I don't have the right sort of skipping rope for that. And I need it. So I've got a skipping rope for outdoors. It's really good, but I need to go out and do it. And I don't like running or skipping when there's people around. So I don't. Also, you know, nocturnal life. Even though it's like 4 p.m, so not super nocturnal at the moment, but that's okay. Yeah. And then the cardio definitely needs some work to make sure I can get through all the stuff for Kung Fu. But I've also, and this is going to be my final point because it's like 25 minutes long, holy cow! I've also put together a monthly roundup for Kung Fu, which is everything. Every single belt that I know, every single thing on that belt, start to finish, in a set order. And then if I want to / have the time to, I've got do an hour of like just light-ish bodyweight workouts. Not super intense, but not super easy either. So still push yourself for an hour before doing that, because that's pretty much what black belt's likely to be. So I've got that there in preparation for black belt, because I figured if monthly, starting in April probably, if I do that once a month to start with, go through everything, because it's going to be time consuming, and it's not going to be like everything, because we've got like a jab. There's a bunch of different applications for a jab, and I've got to be able to do applications, so they can be like bam, bam, bam. They're all very similar. Bam, bam, step round the back, bam, all sorts. I'm not going to necessarily do as many as I can possibly think of for every single hand strike that we have, and so on and so forth, but I'm going to do some. So it's going to be this sort of like 2 to 3 minimum per hand strike. We've got a lot of hand strikes. And then same for arm strikes, same for leg strikes. Then we've got hand and arm strikes. And then for my next belt, after the one I'm currently going for, we'll have hand, arm, and leg strikes. Hand and arm strikes has to be a hand strike followed by an arm strike. Hand, arm, and leg strikes has to be a hand strike followed by an arm strike followed by a leg strike. So there's a lot of combinations available. But they will have to sort of make sense. Flow, which is on the board for the year, is the year of foundation. Flow and finesse. The 3 Fs is the year of foundation, and then it should be like in brackets, flow and finesse. Because flow and finesse are 2 aspects I want to have in my foundation. Foundation being financial for a baby. No. But yeah, so wish me luck. I feel like I need it. This is going to take me a while to get through all the stretching and stuff, because like do 15 of this per side, 10 of that per side, and that one is do 5 seconds of a plank and then a quick like dynamic stretch, and then 5 seconds, and then same dynamic stretch to the other side, and that's 1 total. So I've got to do at least a minute, no, 2. Then it's do this for a minute, then it's do this till failure, and then do it the other side for the same amount of time. Then it's do a minute per side 3 times, do a minute per side 3 times, do a minute per side 3 times, do it to failure, or at least a minute, and then do it to failure. Yeah, it's going to be tough. And then I've got to do that whole set 3 times. Oh boy. So all those ones I've got to do 3 times, I've actually got to do 9 times. I'm going to see how long it takes, because I am limited on time, especially if I want to start doing some of these before work, which I do. So I've got my daily workout, like my daily routine, which is my bare minimum to do every single day. It's like, if I break my leg, I'm still doing it. I might have to adapt it because it's got squats in, but I'm still doing it. Those squats can be adapted to something else. It's like that every single day. No excuses. It is just a dynamic warm-up, 10 push-ups, 10 like crunch push-through sit-ups, 10 squats, and a hollow body hold. That's it. Hollow body hold, minimum 30 seconds, but longer is obviously better. So, yeah. I've got that. Then I have the BodBot app, which I've been using on and off for a while. I paid for it this year, just to sort of have it do some work for me, in the sense of generating a workout that will be different to something else, and I don't have to tell myself what to do. It's just read the thing, do the thing, read the thing, do the thing, and it has a little element of that external accountability, because I've got to tick off that I've done the things in the app. I can always remove them, but, you know, whatever. So I've got that, and that is every day apart from Wednesday. Sometimes I'll remove it just because I'm like, I need an extra rest day. I'll still do the bare minimum, won't do that. But those two combined usually take nearly an hour, because the BodBot workouts are 30 to 60 minutes. For the most part, Mondays are 15. But, you know, they're not super short. And then I also need to make sure I get my housework and stuff done. But if I do both of those before work, and I get sweaty, I need to have a shower, add another half an hour. We're currently looking at, let's say, an hour and a bit. Then I've got to eat and digest, hopefully. Get my stuff ready for work, get my bag ready for work, get my food ready for work, go to work. That all takes about an hour, so that's like 2.5, say, hours. And considering that ideally I'm going to be sleeping till about 2:30 in the afternoon, and I need to leave I need to be leaving the flat at 5:45. That leaves an hour and 3/4 at most. I want to have some rest time, and you've got to be able to account for distractions. Like, I have my flatmate, they might need my help with something, might need to take out the bins. Perhaps I get in the shower and my shower gel's empty, so I've got to turn it off, get out the shower, get the next shower gel, put that in. Doesn't happen very often, I'm usually pretty good with that, but who knows. Got to brush my teeth. I might need to do like a thorough wash of my hair or brush it or whatever. There's quite a lot of it. There's all sorts of things that can go wrong, and you've got to be able to account for that. So if this takes like an hour or 2 hours, I'm going to need to reduce the volume. That doesn't necessarily mean increase the intensity. Some of it might be, some of it might not be, but hey, trial and error. Anyway, I said like 6 minutes ago that I was going to say one more thing and then stop, so I'm now going to stop, and I will catch you cats on the flip-flop.